me, sure, of course.
What do you think of all these threats from the government saying that we could be in an election on Christmas?
It's not a threat, it's a description of parliamentary process. They're a minority government. They have no right to pass a budget. We haven't read it yet. I've made it very clear to this government that I will not vote for any budget that includes fossil fuel subsidies. That's my one condition. Otherwise, I haven't read the budget yet, so I haven't decided how I'm going to vote.
Who could support this?
What's that?
Who could support this budget? Sorry, I'm losing my
Well,
voice.
no one's read it yet.
But is there a world in which, let's say, there's abstentions or some people decide to not vote, for instance?
Well, who knows? The deals are done all the time between political parties that have a minority of the seats in Parliament. Budgets passed in minority parliaments. The last since, certainly since the 2019 election, we were in a minority parliament. Every year's budget passed. We know that there was a specific confidence and supply agreement between the Liberals and the New Democrats, but there's often different dancing partners and different negotiations take place. They haven't had to negotiate with me. I'm one vote, but they know that I will not vote for a budget that includes fossil fuel subsidies. So it makes it easier for them to say, well, we'll get that one vote from the Greens if we make sure we're not subsidizing fossil fuels, which was a promise that, after all, Stephen Harper made in 2009, that Justin Trudeau made in 2015. I don't think it should be too hard for Marc Carney in 2025.
What do you make of Government House Leader Steve McKinnon? He's called out the Conservatives and the Bloc, but he's been he hasn't said anything about the NDP. What do you think about the NDP supporting the budget and being the only party to support it?
Well, I think that's up to the New Democrats. Again, it's very hard to answer questions about a document we haven't read yet. So far, every horrible thing that's happened to me as a Green since Marc Carney became Prime Minister has been decisions of the Liberals with the complete support of the Conservatives. So I don't know which way the government will turn for support for the budget, because I don't know what's in the budget, and I don't think anyone does. And I have to hope for the best. I really hope for the best.
Would you be prepared to go to an election before the holidays?
I'm not prepared to betray my granddaughter's future by voting for fossil fuel subsidies, no matter the cost in terms of politics. Some things are more important than politics, and my granddaughter's future is top of my list.
Do you have any concerns about hearing the government House leader say that they're willing to go to an election?
I don't think they have a choice. People should refresh memories. I know it was a long time ago, but the 1979 budget fell, and it famously fell, as they say, because the Conservatives couldn't count. But Joe Clark went to a budget vote. I just recently saw a play called 1979 that's quite brilliant about that vote. But nobody threatened we're going to go to an election if you don't pass our budget. That's what happens. If you fail on a confidence vote, the government falls. Now, there's other things that can happen in a minority parliament, even if the government falls. You can negotiate a confidence and supply agreement to avoid an election. There's things that happen. We're in a minority parliament. There is no one all-powerful player here. We have to work together. That's a good thing for democracy. So I hope that and even after a budget is presented, there can be amendments to a budget. Don't forget these things. So we can work together, I hope. If the budget is presented has a poison pill that means one or more parties can't vote for it, the government has the option of taking that out and representing a budget that they think they can get through. We're in Parliament, and it's not so much threats, it's reality. And if they don't have the votes, they shouldn't go to a vote until they have the votes. And that involves negotiation and compromise.
Another subject. I know we spoke to Minister Hodgson this morning, and he said any talk of a pipeline on the West Coast is hypothetical. What do you make of this?
Well, there's no proposal from any private sector investor. No private sector investor could make its money back. It's absurd to throw money at nuclear reactors, which the government apparently will throw $2 billion at a project that'll never, but unlikely to ever generate a kilowatt of electricity, but never mind. Some projects seem to attract money. I think we need to examine all government expenditures for value for money, and we need to examine all of what we do as a country with a lens for our future generations and what does this mean for climate. But certainly, anything would be hypothetical when it's not proposed.
The government has been pushing for a pipeline. Mr. Hodgson said he was ready to work to try to attract private investors. So are they stuck between a rock and a hard place right now? Because
I think talk to investors. The global money isn't going to pipelines. It's going to renewables. No matter what Danielle Smith says, and no matter how much she's prepared to lose money in Alberta, canceling private sector investments in renewables, the future is in renewables, not fossil fuels.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, merci. Je vais répéter un peu en français pour mes collègues francophones que ce n'est pas possible pour le Parti vert de voter en faveur d'un budget avec les subventions vers énergie fossile. Pas du tout, jamais. Merci.
Mr. Housefather, Chris Rance, good to see you. I believe a Quebec Superior Court judge has decided that Terrebonne won't be overturned, that the Liberals win Terrebonne and the Bloc loses by 1 vote, I believe. Just wondering, as a Montreal MP, what do you think?
Well, I have to read the judgment, but of course I'm very pleased that my colleague Tatiana Auguste will stay in the House. She's a great colleague. She's the vice chair of our Quebec caucus, and she's a wonderful MP. I'm glad.
I mean, you've been a mayor in Côte St. Luc, you've been an MP, and you remain an MP. That's about as nail-biting as they come, 1 vote.
Yeah, 1 vote is as nail-biting as they come, unless you have a tie and you flip a coin.
Wow. Okay. Well, thank you. Anything else on the subject? Or?
I have to read the judgment.
Perfect.
But anyway, thanks. Have a great day.
You too. Good to see you. Proceed.
I'm sorry?
Anything new?
No, what I can tell you is that I've spent the summer meeting with my emergency management counterparts and a lot of the First Nations leadership, and I have a provincial and territorial meeting coming up in November, and I'll be developing basically an emergency strategy for Canada that will strengthen what we're doing at the present time.
I should ask, and by the way, I'm Chris Rance from CBC. Kelowna Flight Path, Conair, de Havilland in Alberta, is there any move there to help to encourage them to increase their efforts to build new water bombers, to convert more aircraft to air tankers?
Absolutely, and I've had discussions with actually all of those entities, and of course from the perspective of making sure that we buy Canadian, it would be important for us if we're going to add to or develop air firefighting assets to make sure that we buy from those companies, and I would certainly support that, absolutely.
But so far we're still in a process.
We're still in a process,
yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So, I really have, I hope I have more to talk about with you over the next couple of weeks, and we'll see once the budget comes out.
Sure, exciting.
Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate the question.
No problem.
Thank you.
Ask you about Terrebonne and staying in Liberal hands after the court decision. Any thoughts about that?
Well, delighted to keep our colleague, and I respect the court's decision.
Any lessons for the next
Every
time?
vote counts. Yeah.
What do you think about Ford's ad?
Look, I mean, it's a separate jurisdiction. I can understand the frustration that leads to these things, but it's time for us all to work together as Team Canada. Prime Minister is the leader of Team Canada in this regard, and so I hope everybody takes his lead.
Do you think that there's still going to be a chance for a deal with Trump?
I think that free trade has been in the interest of both Canadians and Americans, and for that reason, the fundamentals are pretty strong.
What do you think is the likelihood that Canada gets a deal with the U.S. before the end of the year?
Zero. How long has he had? He promised July. It's now October. Pretty soon November. He's delivered zero.
Advertising.
Oh, Doug Ford's advertisement?
Yeah.
Well, he spent $75 million during a financial crisis in the country and a housing crisis in Ontario to exacerbate somebody who has demonstrated that they're not stable. How is that helping? I don't think it's helpful. I think people need to think before they act right now in a situation that's with a leader that's demonstrated that he's erratic.
And what do you think about the fact that now there's this additional 10% tariff? Talks are terminated. Do you think it's likely we're going to get a deal in the near future, or do you feel like we're really taking a big step back?
Well, we have a prime minister who keeps sucking up to Trump, Trump, who has demonstrated since being elected that he changes his mind on a daily. Calling him, a modern man. I had quoted this in a question, calling him a world-class leader. Let's get real here. He's demonstrated he's erratic. He has demonstrated that he decides one thing one day, changes it another, and here we are again. This is a cycle that keeps going around. We need to focus on building the Canadian economy, creating good Canadian jobs by Canadians for Canadians. That needs to be the focus. We need to get through this time, certainly, but I think it's fine time that we stop playing around. Jobs are on the line. We lost thousands and thousands of jobs last week, in fact, in the auto sector industry. And meanwhile, in Canada, they're on the hook. This Liberal government is on the hook for cutting jobs in the public sector, which will impact 56%, whom will be women.
Thank you very much.
Thank
I
you.
should ask you about Terrebonne. The judge has ruled that the Liberals get to keep this Montreal-area riding. The Bloc loses by 1 vote. Any thoughts on that?
I'm not familiar with I haven't read an update on that case.
And on the food bank report, 2.2 million users nationally. What can you tell us about what you're seeing in Winnipeg?
Well, look, I've been a long supporter of a guaranteed livable basic income. We're seeing a rise in first-time houselessness in the droves. In some of our shelters, in fact, the majority of residents now are seniors. It's time to modernize our social safety net. A guaranteed income supplement for seniors is not enough. Employment insurance is not enough. It's time to replace an archaic systems and replace it with a guaranteed livable basic income. Something that would cost, in fact, taxpayers less in the long run, instead of continuing to try and, with the tax breaks, instead of just putting Band-Aids on a solution, finding a long-term solution to this poverty crisis, and in fact, a charter crisis in this country.
On immigration, last Wednesday, Carney teased a new immigration strategy. What are the things that you would want to be included in?
Are you talking about Bill C-12?
I'm talking about the budget.
Oh, well, I haven't seen the budget, so I can't comment on that.
But what would you like included? What changes in the immigration policy of this government?
Well, what I can say is that the bill that they currently have on the table, Bill C-12 and Bill C-2, in fact, are in violation of international law. They're in violation of migrants, refugees, and asylum seekers. What I want to see from this government is that they stop forcing legislators to vote on bills that actually break the rule of law. Thank you.
Monsieur Miller, bonjour. J'aimerais vous parler de Terrebonne. Qu'est-ce que vous pensez de la décision qui a été rendue ce matin?
De Terrebonne?
Oui.
Ah, pour Tatiana?
Oui, pour
Tatiana. Je pense que c'est la bonne décision. On pensait qu'elle avait gagné de toute façon.
Ouais.
C'est bien qu'une cour d'enterrer.
Qu'est-ce que ça dit du fait qu'un vote peut être perdu dans la poste et faire la différence dans notre démocratie?
Ben, ça arrive. Je présume qu'il y avait peut-être d'autres votes qui auraient pu trancher en faveur de Tatiana, mais écoutez, c'est la Cour qui a tranché, puis ils pourraient le prendre en appel le cas échéant. Ben, ça arrive, il y a des votes qui sont périmés, il y a des votes qui sont détruits. Je pense que le test, c'est de savoir si ça a un impact final sur le résultat, puis il y aurait pu avoir bien d'autres facteurs aussi.
Parfait. À propos des tarifs commerciaux, oui. Donald Trump, Doug Ford, les publicités, est-ce qu'on a plus de chances d'avoir une victoire des Blue Jays en Série mondiale ou d'avoir un accord avec Donald Trump d'ici le mois de Noël?
On est rendu 1-1. Je pense que la décision sur les Blue Jays ou les Dodgers va être décidée avant d'avoir un...
Mais est-ce que Doug Ford a nuit aux négociations?
Ben, je sais pas. Vous savez que M. Trump est très imprévisible. M. Ford a fait ce qu'il avait à faire. Je ne sais pas l'état actuel des négociations, donc ça dépend, mais je présume qu'il y a d'autres lapins qui auraient pu sortir de son chapeau aussi, M. Trump.
Do you think that the ad that you put out was helping the cause, or do you think in some cases it pushed us back? Yeah?
I kind of liked it.
What did you like about it?
I thought it was quite clear about the impacts, and from Ronald Reagan, the impacts that putting up protectionist barriers can have not only on the domestic U.S. economy, but on the world. And it's a reminder of for Americans of what the impact is of tariffs. It impacts them before really it impacts us. Anyway, I don't know the tactical decision making behind it. I'm not part of the negotiation team. I assume there are other rabbits that Mr. Trump could have pulled out of his hat to justify any more delay, but it certainly made a news story, that's for sure.
Do you think he should have kept going with the ad then? I mean,
that's up to really up to him. I think almost pulling it made the ad more prominent. So.
What do you think of the flip around from President Trump on the ad? At first, he seemed to be like, I would have done the same thing if I was in their shoes too. Oh, now 10% tariff and we're...
Well, I saw somewhere that the Chinese had actually put that out as well. So that's the same ad, or the same quote from Ronald Reagan that circulates widely publicly. You know, Mr. Trump, as I've said before, is an unpredictable person, so we have to get used to the unexpected.
What do you think about the budget vote and the government House Leader Steve McKinnon saying, you know, you don't have the votes,
we don't have the numbers,
and kind of saying he's worried? Are you worried about an election? How do you think that's going to
I'm not worried about an election. I don't want one, but I'm not worried. We don't have the numbers. It's as easy as that. So other parties will have to figure out whether they support us and whether they don't, and they'll have to see what's in the budget.
Who do you think is the most likely dance partner?
I don't know right now. There's a lot of people that are displaying a lot of false bravado, but I think a lot of people don't want to go into an election. And I think when they have the chance to look at the budget and vote on the budget, I think they'll realize that it's important to have some stability in this country, and if they don't, well, then we'll have to see what Canadians think.
Do you think it's up to the government to be giving things to the other parties in that budget for them to get support on it?
It really depends on the back and forth. I mean, I don't think anyone's going to tee it up in advance.
Est-ce que c'était plus simple quand on avait une entente avec le NPD et qu'on savait qu'il était voté pour nous?
Ben, oui, sauf que, comme vous savez, le NPD était peu importe l'entente qu'on avait, était très, très, très imprévisible. Puis il y avait toujours une surenchère de demandes avec le NPD, donc la dynamique était quand même difficile. Puis ça donnait beaucoup d'importance à une poignée de députés du NPD avec lesquels on n'était pas nécessairement en accord. Donc ça avait ses avantages, c'est clair, mais je pense que chaque fois, c'était une négociation à l'interne très difficile. No, I'm saying, you know, the Sacco deal that we had with the NDP sounded nice from the exterior, but there's a lot of every vote had its particular negotiation, and the NDP would obviously up the ante, wanting to get one more thing, and they had some rogue MPs sometimes that didn't think that they should vote for us, never wanted to be part of SACA, so it was their own internal dynamic. It probably gave too much power to 14 MPs with whom we don't share the same ideas or policies, but at the end of the day, it provided a stable government for 3 years and a half that got a lot done.
Okay, thank you.
What do you make of the 2.2 million people using the food bank in the last month?
Well, I think it's the testament of where we are in this country in terms of food insecurity. It's why you have Minister Haidu and the Prime Minister making the school food program permanent. Food precarity is something that is present in Canada. It's present in a lot of countries that are in the same situation as us. It's unfortunate, but it's a reality of a country like ours.
Perfect. Thanks, guys.
Dad.
Morning.
What do you think about Doug Ford's ad?
I'm not going to comment on the ad. I'm going to comment on the fact that we're working incredibly hard to get the best deal for Canada, and that's what we got to focus on right now.